Okay, welcome everyone to the Succeed with Software podcast. Thanks for joining us today. Today I'm really excited to introduce our guest. His name is Samuel Chang. He's a suite mate that I met recently as a result of a testimonial that he sent in, which is always great to hear how Suite Dash is helping and hopefully improving the businesses and lives of suite mates out there. So Samuel is the CEO of VT Member, and VT Member is a company that sources and hires, trains, and manages remote workers. So virtual assistants, I guess, is the niche, Sam. But let me pass to you before I butcher your business and your elevator pitch too badly, because I'm sure you have it down. Let me introduce Samuel Chang, the CEO of VT Member. Sam, thanks so much for joining us on the Succeed with Software podcast.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be able to offer a little bit of value to your audience and also to be able to jam with you. So thanks for having
Yeah,
me.
great. So tell us about your business, Sam. Maybe when you started, and then how you grew into this type of business. Maybe how you came to be.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I could start from the very beginning, kind of how I got into entrepreneurship
Love
in the
that.
first
Yeah.
place. So originally, actually, my very first kind of stint at entrepreneurship was back in college. I was actually a meat salesman back in college. So I went to the University of Western Ontario. So for the Americans, it's just a university over here, and we have actually one of the most prestigious business schools over here, or at least the most prestigious business school in Canada,
Mm.
is actually the Richard Ivey School of Business. And so I was actually part of that program. And when I was in school, my very first commission-based sales job was actually, I was a meat salesman. And
Okay.
so selling meat, like I sold beef, chicken, pork door to door, but it wasn't like, oh, like a cooler and you sell a couple steaks here. Like, no, like we were selling, like we were selling $3,000 to $5,000 worth of like meats in one go. And if they didn't have a freezer, we would sell them at deep freeze as well. So we went door to door, residential, not to businesses. And we sold like basically half a cow, half pork, like that kind of thing. And we sold like $4,000 worth of meat and made 10% commission. So that was kind of like my first stint. I remember on my fourth day on the job, I sold like, I think, 20 grand worth of meats and I made like $1,500. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, why do I need school? So after that, one of my really good friends actually got me out and got me a position working with a company called Ledcor, which is a huge multi-billion-dollar construction company up here in Canada. And with Ledcor, I basically kind of climbed the corporate ladder, and we scaled that company from around 25 people to 350 people, and we were one of the largest acquisition teams for if not the largest telecom company over here in Canada. So like we did around like 40% of their net new acquisitions for them. So that was kind of like my first kind of stint. And then while I was at Ledcor, this is actually kind of how the business idea came about. While I was at Ledcor, I was actually tasked to build an online sales university for Ledcor. So, I mean, I think you guys might be familiar with Grant Cardone University, and so
Okay.
Grant Cardone, we hired Grant Cardone for 2 years, and we paid him like almost 300 grand. And with that, what we found in our industry, because the attrition rate for door-to-door salespeople are so high, we realized that after 2 years, well, like everybody left, right? So because everybody left, we're like, well, we just wasted 300 grand on nothing because everybody left, and now we don't have any, we haven't retained any of the information. So I was basically tasked to, curate some of the information, curate some of the scripts and all of that, and then build an internal sales university to essentially utilize to train our team. So
Right.
as I was doing all of that, I was working like 80 hours a week because I got a green screen, I got a media team here, but then I was doing a lot of editing, the filming, like everything by myself. So like 80 hours a week, I was like dying. So basically, at that time, I read Tim Ferriss's book, which is 4 Hour Work Week, and then they were talked about like, oh, like virtual assistants. I was like, oh, what is this? So I go online and I'm like, okay, well, cool. And I just hired one. So I hired one, and then after I hired one, it shrank the number of hours that I had to work from like 80 to like, I think like 50 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. So then I was like, okay, well, what if I hired another one? So I hired another one, and it brought my working hours down to like 20 to 30 hours a week. And so I was like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, so there's something here, right? So that was originally me hiring a virtual assistant for the first time. And then, obviously like working with virtual assistants, whatever, like we hired more and all that kind of stuff, but it wasn't really a business model yet. So during the pandemic, that was kind of how that was kind of when I transitioned, because I was looking for something, because obviously our door-to-door operations kind of shut down, and it kind of wrapped out. So I was looking for a business idea that I could essentially run, from Asia, from, offshore. Like I could run from anywhere in the world, number one, and number two, I can service anybody anywhere in the world. And it just so happened that, we landed on this business. So what we do is we source, we hire, we train, and we also provide the ongoing management of a virtual workforce for North American companies, but we do it for less than half the cost of a North American employee. So we do everything from data entry, cold calling, appointment setting, graphic design, video editing, web development, social media management. We do everything under the sun pretty much virtually, but we do it for $8 an hour. And that's essentially what we do.
Wow.
And essentially, we work with many different kind of companies. We work with telcos, we work with SaaS companies as well. Like we do sales and appointment setting for them. We work with a lot of, individuals that have like podcasts, or individuals that have, like videos that they record, and they want us to like curate that into TikToks and syndicate that onto Instagram Reels and that kind of thing. So we do a lot of that. We do web development, graphic design. We're building a web app as well for a learning management system based out of Ontario. So we do a variety of different things. But primarily the service that we actually are quite good at is the cold calling aspect, as well as the graphic design, video editing aspect of it as well. Because that's my background. Like I used to run a digital marketing company, and then obviously I used to run a cold calling sales team. So those niches are areas of our expertise. But
That's amazing. That was fun. That was like a journey. I loved it.
Yeah.
Okay, so uh, what I recognize there first, this door to door sales start is so valuable. I mean, just really. Of course, the first time you walked up to that door, it's a little bit nerve wracking. You are not sure, and then you gain confidence. You gain confidence. These are the kind of jobs that I always recommend for young adults looking to start in careers, things like that, or even waiting tables, or any kind of job where where you're forced into this face to face, smooth, learn a smooth way of dealing with people, learn to handle rejection, learn to handle the things that might not feel so good.
Yeah.
Uh, but once you have that skill, you can translate that into many different places in the future. There's no doubt about that.
I mean,
Clearly,
I can honestly say that everything that I have is attributed to door to door,
yes,
quite literally. And I would go as far as to say that, any parents listening to this, like, your kids, you want if you want to put them in a position where they can succeed down the line or whatever, I think every single kid should go through door to door. I don't care if you're selling freezies. I used to sell coupon booklets. Like I sold a lot
yes,
door to door, but it trains your mind to, number one, to be desensitized to rejection, which is exactly what you need to succeed. But even Warren Buffett said this: a year of door to door sales is like having a master's in communication. It's incredibly
exactly.
valuable. So yeah, so I 100% agree with you, Mike.
Exactly. Yes. So I didn't know that, Sam. We've just talked a little bit, but that explains a lot. That explains a lot because I could see how on the video testimonial where I first met you, I could just see how comfortable you were, and of course the instant I saw that was I think Sam should be on the podcast, and I'm not sure about his entire story, but I want to hear it. So this is great. This is great, man, and congratulations on all your success. Well, let's talk about VT member. So now you are have the challenge, I think, first of all, of managing two sides of a business. You have your virtual remote workforce that you must manage and communicate with, and then you have your client side, which comes in a completely different door, and you have to manage them. So I guess how did when you started? What were your thoughts about how are we going to do this? You maybe have partners, maybe you have staff, but in the end, one person's going to need to decide how all the organization is going to go. So I assume that was you.
Totally. Yes, it was me. I actually don't have any partners in this business. I do have a team of around 60, I think we're at 66 people now on our team. But in the beginning, like we started off with like myself and a couple of VTMs, and it was so VTM, by the way, stands for virtual team member. We just that's the kind of rebranded version of our VA basically.
Got it.
So
Got it.
but yeah, in the beginning, oh my gosh, Mike, I could tell you that like we look for tools because like, okay, so when I'm managing, you're right, on the client side, and we added many different tools like along the way and everything. But on the client side, obviously we need to manage the client communication, right? So we needed an aspect for that. We need to manage the client projects as well. So obviously cold calling, there's not a whole lot of tasks involved. However, if you're talking about like a podcast, right? Editing the podcast and all that. So there are individual tasks involved. Our administrative assistant clients, like people that hire general virtual assistants from us, right? Obviously, they need to assign tasks, and where do you assign tasks, right? So these are all questions in the beginning that, like, we were looking at many different software, and then also like, I mean, billing and invoices and contracts, like all that kind of stuff. Like we were looking at DocuSign, we were looking at, and if I calculated it, I was like, we're gonna end up using, like in the beginning, I was like, well, I guess so in the beginning, my mentality was this. My mentality was done is better than perfect. And I think that's a good business, business kind of,
Mm.
you know, direction to go into, because if you want everything to be perfect and you seek perfection, well, perfection doesn't exist, right? Which means you're going to be in a position where you're just going to be procrastinating, right? Because
Sure.
so for me, in the beginning, done is better than perfect. So I just started utilizing like DocuSign and Calendly and all of these kind of different tools until I found you guys. But in the beginning, like I had to basically like string everything together, like bootstrap everything together,
Sure.
So
And
yeah.
that's the paradigm, right? I mean, that is what you know as a human being when you are looking to solving a problem. You look at the problem, you find a tool that fits that problem, and
Mhm.
then you end up with a whole toolbox full of different tools bought from different places, and that does make sense. Um,
Yeah, and it
but
was it was difficult though, managing, like, because we had to manage the team members. How we do it is that every client of ours, they actually get access to three team members for the price of one. So they get access to a local North American agent. We have eight locally, and then they also get access to a virtual trainer. The virtual trainer is the one who will manage the VTM and provide ongoing kind of micromanagement. So if they're a cold caller, like we'll monitor their hourly call volumes, right? And then last but not least, we have the VTM who's doing the work. So there's layers of management with each client and everything. However, yeah, managing that whole process, it is quite a task.
yes, and so not only do you have to go out and slay all those beasts, right? Each one individual, but then you have to convince, train, and get up to speed every single person downline organization. And if
Mhm.
something doesn't work out, guess what? You do it again, and every time is over and over. So, what we envisioned always with Sweet Dash was let's make this one tool, this one experience, this one familiar UI and familiar way of working, one login that can serve as many needs as possible, and that will always continue to grow and always continue to expand and improve based on customer feedback. And then you could start with us and then continue to grow with us into places that you never even thought you would use. But hey, it's available. Let's just try it. It could really work for us.
Right.
There's no friction there, yeah. So, good. That's great. That's great that you're in that position now in your business. You're starting to solve the challenges. You're running into some difficulties, yeah, because you have multiple pieces of software and the expenses associated with it. But done is better than perfect. You're right. And yes, it's funny that you say perfect. Perfection is unattainable. It's just I call it approaching perfection. That's what we want.
Mhm.
We'll go for that. But anyway, let's talk about next. Just I guess where did that change? Where? What about? Tell me about the moment where you said, okay, what? Maybe there's another way to do this, and maybe that moment coincides with the moment you heard about or started thinking about software that can do more than one thing.
Yeah. So, um, I I knew I wanted to create like I think like the client experience is really important to me. I think like when I looked at our service, like the barrier of entry isn't actually very high. If you really look at it, like you can go and hire a virtual assistant like online, like you can go on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, you can hire someone. So I was actually looking for, yeah, one way to streamline, but two, I was actually looking for a way to differentiate myself from other companies out there.
Right.
And SweetDash actually really helped me do that, because with you guys, like for example, all of my clients, I can give them access to a client portal, and they go on there, and the moment they land on the main page that, we customize with like the announcements and all that kind of stuff, the billing and contracts, all of that, they look at the back end and they're like, holy shit, like, because everything is branded like us, right? So when
Yes.
they look at the back end, they're like, what the heck, like this, like they, in their mind, they're like, we built this, you know what I mean?
Right.
So in their mind, they think we built this. And so when they look at that, they're like, oh my gosh, like it just makes our business look, number one, look so much better. And that was like from a client experience side. So to talk about kind of the moment, I think it was when I was inviting, because you know how like with each software, like for example, like a Trello or like a, whatever, like you have to invite them to, the board, or invite them to whatever. And so what I was like inviting, like when I was onboarding a client, I have an onboarding checklist, and I was looking at the checklist and I was like, what the heck? Like we're using like 5 different tools, and then, we're trying to bring them in like invoicing and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like the management of it was just taking way too long. And also the invoicing, the sending the contracts, like using like DocuSign. Like it was just like, number one, it was getting expensive, but two, it was like why am I spending all this time when there should be a tool that I can like put all the information and I click a button. Like with SweetDash now, like just to give you an idea how we set it up is that, we input their information and we create a custom field so that the custom fields automatically populates the contract. So
Yes.
essentially we just put their name, number, email, whatever in, and then we put the number of hours that they're buying and put the hourly rate. We put their contract length, right? And we put everything in there. And then we go to contracts and we click one button, and then boom, it sends them a contract and it sends them an email. And then the crazy thing is it also follows up with their email. In addition to that, like, I mean, if you're a business owner listening to this on the call, you know how hard it is, like, or how detrimental to your business it is to chase your clients down for payment, because especially with startups, like cash is king, right? And so and especially if you don't have a payment processing company that will give you your funds right away. For example, like Stripe, when you first start with them, I think they hold your funds for like 7 days or something like that, which means like, if they paid late and then they hold your funds for 7 days, well, now you're like half the month in and you're like, you need to use those funds to either pay employees or grow your business. And it becomes just the whole thing, right? So with SweetDash, like, we use the contracts. It's like one click, we send out the contracts, we send out the invoices, and we have all of their payments saved on SweetDash as well. So I just charge our clients' credit cards. It's so much quicker on a weekly basis. And from a peace of mind perspective, like every single week, like, because we do invoicing weekly, it's just like it takes away, I guess, like an entire aspect of our business that I have to worry about, to the point, and it's automated to the point where I actually don't even, like, I do hire somebody for it, but if I didn't really need to hire somebody for it, I could literally do all the contracts, all the billing, all the invoices, all the charging of the credit cards within an hour, like each week, kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Right? Which is phenomenal. Yeah.
Well,
So
and let me flesh out some of that. Exactly, the contract. Let's go to that. So,
sure.
When you generate a contract,
Mm-hmm.
you're generating it for different contract templates. So you might have 4 or 5 different
Correct.
types of clients, and you can create a contract template with each one. And
Correct.
in the contract template, you're going to use dynamic placeholders that are intended to be replaced with the data that you talked about earlier, the number of hours, the contact specific information. And so
Yes.
then when you onboard that person and you click that button, that contract gets instantly generated with all that data and goes out to them with their exact data in merged into that template, so that gone are the days where you have to dig through a Google Doc and try to make sure that you searched and replaced all the places, and then you export that and upload it to DocuSign or whatever. And about halfway through dragging the signatures over, you think, oh man, I messed up, and then you got to go back to the Google Doc, That's
Yeah.
I've had that experience, and I didn't
Oh,
like it very much. Yeah.
yeah. And
So
that's the thing because we have Canadian clients, we have American clients, right? Oh, sorry, we
mm,
have Canadian and then we have international clients. So for example, to your exact point, Mike, we have international like service agreement, and then we have a Canadian service agreement, right? So then like depending on the type of client, I just change the currency and all of that, click a button, and then boom, like it automatically generates. And it's like onboarding a client used to take like probably like an hour and a half or whatever. Now, I kid you not, onboarding a client takes me like 15 minutes. Like it's ridiculous.
it's great.
Yeah. So
And the best part, so we're looking at your website. I have your website in the view here.
yeah.
The branding is so strong. I mean, I really love these colors. I love the way you've done the website here. So congratulations on that. So, but what I think I see as someone who really cares about brand, and as you said, this the way to set yourself apart in this business, and I think in every business, is to provide an exceptional experience. And I think that's what drew you probably to Sweet Dash, in that you can take uh, your website, and let's look. I think we'll just click the login here, right?
Mhm.
And if we click login, you'll see your Sweet Dash login. But guess what? It doesn't say Sweet Dash anywhere. Even in the URL, this is your URL. It's all custom,
Yeah.
fully secured, SSL, your logo, everything here, and all the email notifications that come from your portal, or any kind of invoice notifications. No mention of Sweet Dash, completely white labeled, and so therefore your brand is extended, and as you said, your clients are super impressed, and they're unlikely to go anywhere as long as your service is excellent, which I'm sure it is, and of course it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's also it's also a flex as well. Like even on our website, if you scroll if you scroll down to the video section of the website,
yeah,
we actually talk about it. Like we say, hey, like so for example, if you scroll down
yeah,
and you go to how we work right here, play video.
okay, yes, okay,
And
yes,
if you
hmm
click on the player video and you scroll to like maybe halfway
hmm
point,
okay,
uh, right. I'll keep going, keep going, keep going,
okay,
keep going,
yes,
keep
sir.
going, keep going. Right here, right here.
Okay,
Go
right,
back a little bit. So
yes.
right here, I actually talk about it. I
Uh-huh.
say like, hey, like we have like an
There it
app.
is.
Yeah, that's like built in, and so it's available on your iPhone, your Android, your whatever. So we actually mention it directly like on like
That's
on our website when we're speaking to our clients, like, hey, you can manage your team members directly through your like app. And
yes.
when they see that and they think about that, they're like, wait, what? Like you guys have an app? And in their mind, they're like, wow, okay, so like these guys aren't small, right? And it's also it's a great branding. It's also a great like especially when you're in sales calls and you show them this and you show them the back end, it's really, really good. Like it's really strong. Yeah,
Right. I mean, your logo sitting on their iPhone or Android, and
totally.
a billion iPhones, y'all, as Oprah says, right? So I mean,
Mhm.
you look, you can one of your clients, all they have to do is click on your custom URL from their phone, and it will be they can basically install your app directly on their device. Your logo is sitting right next to their Tesla app or their Uber app, or there you are, VT member,
Yeah, yeah,
and they can open up and just log in and process all business. Your staff can do that. And what you're looking at right here is this is Sweet Dash. This is Sam's VT member account, all white labeled, installed on the device. It's exactly what it looks like. Exactly. So yeah, that's great. Good job. And as you should leverage. We had a podcast guest, Miss Laura, and she referred to it as a SWAS, software as a service.
yeah,
Software
yeah,
as a service. So yeah, I mean maybe you can borrow that one day. I don't know, but
yeah, for sure.
if we could just make up words now. That's the territory we're in. Yeah, that's great, man. Good job with this. This is really beautiful, and does a great job of extending your brand and promoting your business.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Absolutely. Okay. Well, good. So let's talk about now how you talked a lot about how you've been able to streamline your resource your time, and then I hope you're able to use your time, the time that you save, and that's one of the things really is part of our mission, is not just to eliminate and just take a hatchet to the amount of time that you spend doing repetitive tasks that really you should not be doing, as you pointed out. But we hope that you're also redirecting that time and actually getting your life back and doing things that you like to do. And I think
Sure.
you're in a part of the world where there's a lot of nice outdoor things to do. There's a lot of nice things to spend your time other than sitting in an office. And so, and same thing with the mobile app. We hope that you can get out of the office and go be, who you want to be and be yourself, and let automations do these things and let software take care of these boring things. And if you are needed, you have your app and you can be connected.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, good. So I guess when you started with Sweet Dash, you came across Sweet Dash, you saw it, and you realized that it would be a good fit for you. What are some of the things that maybe you didn't think about as you entered into the process, into your journey, that then became a sort of a pleasant surprise along the way? You thought, oh, well, I didn't even think about this, and now I'm starting to open up new doors and see new ways to do things. Anything that
Yeah.
rings a bell like that?
Oh yeah, 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 big time. So first things is like we have different layers of individuals on our team. So for example, we have virtual trainers, and we also have VTMs. And each kind of role, I wanted each role to have a different access. Like in my mind, I wanted basically client to have a client portal, VTs to have a VT portal, VTMs to have a VTM portal, and then admins to have an admin portal. And when I was looking at a lot of different other softwares out there, like those roles and permissions weren't available. And it wasn't available to the degree that Sweet Dash could do. So that was one. The other thing, that you guys have that translate option where you
Mm.
guys can change basically how each um, like you guys can essentially change up any of the phrases, like sorry,
That's
any
right.
of the terminologies on here, right? So if you wanted to change anything to match your brand, that was also a huge like a huge win. Like I really like what was really nice was how customizable you guys are. And then even since we started with you guys added so many other features. Like even like since we started, I don't even know when we started with you guys. It wasn't even that long. It's like 6 months ago, maybe max. Um, but since we started with you guys, like you guys have already added so many features. And like I actually every single time, I think like there was an email that went out this morning.
Hmm.
But every time that you guys send one of those like Sweet Dash, oh, like new feature like emails, like I actually I get like super pumped because I'm like, oh, like what else could you guys bring? But 100% the progressive web app, I didn't actually end up thinking that that was going to be a flex, to be honest.
Yes.
But I can't even tell you how many deals I've closed because like that just sounded like it sounded so good, right? Like for them, like the moment they see that, because like keep in mind, Mike, like I'll be very transparent with you. Like our business hasn't even been in business for that long. Like
Hmm.
we launched our company in so I inked the company in March, and I didn't have my first paying client until end of June, right? And
Wow.
beginning
Okay.
of July till now, we scaled to like 80 clients,
You're on your
basically,
way, man. You're on
right?
your way.
So for us, you know, in the beginning, obviously, like I had to balance it, right? Because when I was like, obviously, when we were selling TELUS is the largest telecom company pretty much in Canada, right? And like when we say, hey, TELUS, like obviously people know of us, but VT member, nobody knew of us. And so when I showed them that, hey, I had like a progressive web app component, like or like I have an app component to my business, they're just like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, well, these guys must be legit kind of thing,
Hmm.
right? And it helped me bridge a lot of like the maybe the skepticism, right, with working with a new company kind of in the beginning with my clients. So it was really good.
Oh, for sure. And having this presence, this web presence, and as you say, these tools that look like if they think you built this, they think you are somehow leveraged this into existence, which
Mhm.
surely must have taken tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And these guys are legit. They must be. And so yeah, it gives you that right away. And how fast do you think on a very first time a semi tech capable person, even a low tech capable person, can start an account and have all these things branded and ready to go, fully custom URL, custom login in what would be like a guess? Just, and I'm not trying to lead you. I think maybe a day. I think would that be a fair statement if it took all day? But you could do it.
Yeah. So I wanted to be so okay. So let's say like a tech person and a non-tech person, because
Hmm.
I'll be transparent. I did all of the customization myself, and I suck at tech. I suck at it. Like it's pitiful, how badly I am at it. And I did it all by myself, and it took me like maybe 3 days max.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
yeah. Which I the thing is I did it, right? So and I went into the back end and I did all the customizing. And obviously that's also factoring in like, oh, like, writing the announcements and like copy and like all that kind of stuff. And so for me, it's not very hard to set up, and
Mhm.
it's quite easy. And then now that you guys have the wizard thing, right? I think you guys
Hmm.
just launched that.
Yes.
That's gonna be a game changer, because there were so many things that like maybe like in the beginning there were so many things that like I needed support on, but then I was like emailing your team. And it was like back and forth emails, like, and it was fine, like it was good. But then I was just like, man, I just want to like get somebody on a Zoom so I can like ask someone like how to do this kind of thing. And
Yeah.
now that you guys have a wizard, or that wizard functionality where you guys can book a call or whatever, and
Yep.
you guys will help them through it, that'll be a game changer, I think.
Yeah. So Sam is talking about the Sweet Dash Wizard program, which will you can book what we call a wizarding session, and I have to give credit to my 13-year-old daughter and her obsession with Harry Potter. But yes, we now have Sweet Dash Wizards, and we sort of theme it like that. So forgive any silliness there, but again, we like to work very hard, but we also know that life is about life, and so you may catch us being a little bit silly like that every once in a while. But as you getting started with Sweet Dash, if you're running into issues, you can book directly from within the platform with the Sweet Dash Wizard, and even for our paid upgrades for Thrive and Pinnacle, we're including complimentary sessions for people that upgrade from free trials to Thrive and Pinnacle. So, yes, this is your chance to. This is the way that you can really collect your thoughts. Even and you don't have to book it right away. See, that's the thing, right? You get a coupon for the free sessions that you get. Spend a couple days with the software. Write down your questions, right? Start to really figure out how things are going to go, and book that session out a week later, maybe 2 weeks, and then really come to the table with a nice list, and we'll help you solve it. And if we can't solve it in that session, we'll make sure that you find your way to a solution at some point shortly thereafter, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Good. Okay. Um, Well, and you've talked about how your clients kind of freak out when they get inside and see this. Are they really? You would say that they're adapting to it well. They take to it. They're not resisting. This is the kind of thing that is this the feedback that you're getting? Because often clients can be hesitant, but if we make it easy for them, then I think that's really the key.
Yeah, so we definitely make it easy for them, and also all the virtual trainers are actually trained in the portal already on how to utilize it. And
Hmm.
so with them being trained, like we always have somebody kind of walk them through the back end and how to use the file vault, and the billing and all that kind of stuff as well. Um, so yeah, so I think clients actually like this, because like for example, when we send somebody an invoice, right, it sends them an email. But when we send them an email, they can actually pay for the invoice and look at the invoice without actually logging into the portal. That's actually really nice. So there's always that functionality there. So they don't have to log into the portal. The portal is just something that like they can, and that's for those are for the clients that are like more resistant, right? But for the clients that obviously are, they're more open, like they're more techy, right? They'll log in and they'll utilize that portal, not a problem. I like the fact that you guys have that one click option where for people who are a little bit more resistant.
The magic
Um,
link. I was going to say yes. You have the magic link feature enabled. I think that's what you're doing. What you mean?
what I
Or
mean
you mean
is
the
like
non-logged?
the non-log, yeah. So like
Yes,
like when I send an invoice or whatever, they can pay for the invoice directly just by clicking
that's
on
right.
one link without having to log in, and then they can pay for that invoice. Or like same thing with contracts, they can click on one link and then
Hmm.
they don't have to log in. So that right there is something that's really good as well, because it replaces DocuSign, right? And they can just do it directly on their side, which is
That's
great.
right. So exactly, kind of the direction I was going with the conversation is that Clients, yes, they are notorious for being resistant and for being for having problems. I can't remember my password. I don't want to do this. It's too much trouble. So we do everything we can in every place to provide a non-logged experience if possible. Uh, in the sense of contracts, yes, we have an option to make it non-logged. Of course, you can also require that it be logged in case you're constrained by some compliance framework or something of that nature. So you can really customize. Is it okay for my company? Do I really need them to be logged in to sign this contract? If not, I can make things a lot easier for them. When they receive the email, they click the link and it's non-logged. Also, things like file transfers. I don't know how much you use that those functionalities, but you
A
can
lot.
do a good. You can do a
Yeah.
file request that you send to someone, and that's a non-logged file request where they click a link. It's just this very nice Dropbox style place where they can upload files to you. They can use it over and over again, not just one time, so they can just keep that. It's great for getting photos or logos or any kind of files, and we've tested that even up to 5 gigabytes. We test our file transfer. You could deliver files to anyone in a non-logged way. So there's
Yeah.
just so many ways that you can use the platform without really forcing people to come and enter their password and get into the portal. You don't always have to do that. But
Yeah.
if in the case that that is something that you need, we do provide the Magic Link login, which is just enter your email address and then we send you a link and you click the link and you're instantly logged in. That's it. So
And that's the thing, because like with the file vault, sorry, I'll just touch on this.
go for it.
We have like we actually built an online training university for like leadership, team building, sales, like all that kind of stuff. We built it internally for our team members. There's 250 modules that we have to edit with raw files, all that kind of stuff. We use SweetDash's like file vault as like the main area that we use to house like all of our videos, like all of our raw videos, all of the completed videos, like all of that. Like we use SweetDash to manage all of that. So that completely replaced our Dropbox, completely replaced our Google Drive, because we utilize that specifically because all of the team members, they can have access to the same files. You can share the files with only the team members. Like it's, yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
That's great, man. Yep. So it's the file sharing is very strong, and we are moving towards. And this is probably something you'll find useful. Uh, a desktop application that will be what we call it's called Portal Sync, and that will be an exact sync between your desktop files as just in something like Dropbox or Drive, right up to your SweetDash cloud files, and that will sort of bridge a gap that some people, all of us, I think, find useful. As of now, that's not the case, out of transparency, but we're on the way there, and it won't be too long that you'll be able to have that capability as well.
That would be a game
That's a
changer
good
for
one,
us.
right? Yeah.
That'd be a
So
game changer, because right now, if I need to transfer a file, I gotta upload, they gotta download, they gotta edit, they gotta re-upload and all that kind of stuff. And so if it's just linked, then
sure,
yeah, it'd be a game changer. Yeah.
100%. Yeah, get it. Uh, Also, you mentioned something about an internal learning management style implementation. So the LMS functionality is on the doorstep of going live in the next week or two.
Yeah.
So we'll be releasing that in a release cycle with 3 phases. So you'll find that in your under the tree for you pretty soon there, Sam.
Nice. Yeah, we have we use an LMS right now because the LMS actually has like interactivity
Uh-huh.
components to it. So for example, if we're watching a video, and I ask a question A or B, they can select A or B and it'll change up the video
Mm-hmm.
so that it adjusts to the learning style and adjusts to the way that they want to be taught, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then with quiz functionalities and all that kind of stuff. But for like and I'm just curious actually now, Mike.
Please, yes.
When the LMS functionality comes out, it's designed so that we can create a course in there and we can actually like sell the course directly to, like, for example, clients, and like they can access the LMS directly through there, right? Or is it more for internal, or is it both?
It's for both. It's for both. It's designed to work for your staff or for your clients so that
Wow.
in the future you'll be able to onboard your staff and say, okay, this person needs to go through this course. And the video, the interesting functionality that you just mentioned is something that we could definitely enable as well. We're using a custom player that has a full API, so we're already moving towards in phase two. One of the completion requirements of the of a lesson would be that you have to watch all the way through the video, and that's confirmed via an API. So certainly the capability would exist to do something like you said that, and I'd like to talk to you about that after we record, just to
Yeah,
understand it completely. But yes, certainly the
I can show you.
capability would
Yeah,
exist.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
interesting. I haven't heard of that, but all these things are doable for sure. And yes, but the staff side of it is really what I think a lot of people will be interested in. Myself, I'm interested in. We use Sweet Dash in our internally for as many things as possible, and so one of the ways we're trying to push towards is to complete an entire onboarding funnel for new developers, new sales staff, new customer reps, and these things like that, so that when we get a new person, depending on the legal needs of that, we can, like you said, enter an email address, a few data points, first and last name, country of origin, and click a button, and the contracts go out, and they get onboarded into the platform, get assigned to a course, to whatever courses they need to be assigned to, start working their way through the training. They'll have their own dashboard. It shows them how many paid days off they have left, how many sick days they've taken. All the HR side is what we're really pushing towards in 2022. You'll see that happening at a rather rapid pace.
yeah. And that would be something that's also a game changer, because right now, like we do all of our timesheets on like a separate software, but like if
Hmm.
we can implement, if we can implement that everything into kind of one area where I can just see from a dashboard, even from like, from an area where somebody can sign in and log their time. I don't
Hmm.
even know that might be possible now, but basically having one of my team members come in and click a button, and they would log their time for that day, and then it would spit out a spreadsheet maybe at the end of the
Hmm.
um yeah, something like
We're
that.
working towards that. You can do timers now. We have timers now.
Yeah,
The way that we structure those is we make them so that you can add them to either an invoice or what we call an invoice generator, which is just a holding method for the timers until that generator's appointed day and time comes, where it then is activated, and it takes all those timers and generates an invoice with all those timers. It totals them up and sends it to the client,
gotcha,
and then it resets itself, and so your team just constantly adds their timers in that way. So for something like a freelance web shop when it's using freelancers, that's a really nice way to make sure everybody's working, make sure all the timers get added to the right generator for that client, and then
yeah,
nobody has to remember to collect all these timers and invoice them, because the generators, that's its one job. It sits there and waits waits for its time, and then it does it. So but
gotcha.
reporting functionality, like you mentioned, is on the horizon as well for timers. So absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah, and
good
then
suggestion.
yeah, and that was the other thing. Like if we could have a functionality where we could click a button and we can, generate like a total for the amounts that we sent out for invoicing, or like that kind of thing, that would
Like a
also,
report,
yeah,
exactly.
report,
Also,
yeah.
one of the primary pushes in Q1 2022. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, good. That sounds like you're using a lot of the features, and also have use case for the features that are coming out very soon and projected in the coming quarters. So that makes me feel like we're on track to continue serving your business, and that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So what advice, maybe let's talk about, we'll wrap it up here in a little bit, Sam, because you're clearly a busy guy, and we'll get you going, but I really
Oh,
appreciate your time. But what advice would you maybe give to people that are looking at Sweet Dash? Maybe they're just getting started. I think there is a little bit of a learning curve, and this is a part of our messaging that we really want to emphasize, is that the kind of results that you are so thrilled with and have really changed everything for you. You had to put some effort there, and maybe just kind of talk about that, and really the advice to new sweet mates.
Yeah, sure. Um, I think that a business. So I guess okay. So let me give advice to like business owners in general, and then I'll give advice to like new street mates. So I think like from a business perspective, it's always like like always look for ways to improve the product, always look for ways to improve the customer experience, always look for ways to improve and try and solve problems before they arise, right? So I think that if you're considering Sweet Dash, I mean, for me, I endorse it 100% because for me, it was also like I can probably say this confidently that comparatively to some of the audience that's listening to this right now, our our business is a lot probably needs a lot more management than most businesses out there, right? Because we have different layers of management. We have multiple different clients, multiple different employees, and we have like many different aspects of our business that we have to manage. Um, Having one place that you can look to, to rely on for information and for automation. Like I always tell individuals, like because a lot of the things that Sweet Dash does, I could technically do by hiring an individual, right? Because I have VTMs, and so I can literally have somebody, generate the invoices and send them off. I can have somebody send out the contracts and all that. I don't have to do that. I just have to pay for it, right? Which is costly. So I always say this. So the first step kind of in business is to try and eliminate, right? If it's not valuable, if it's not revenue generating, if it doesn't lower costs, if it doesn't move your business forward in any way, shape, or form, based on the KPIs that you measure your business by, eliminate it. That's number one. Number two is then you automate it. So eliminate, automate, and then outsource. Right. So a lot of people, they look at their business and they're like, okay, well, what we could do is we can go and we can outsource right away. Oh, we can hire this person, hire this person. But I always would advise, like, I used to do a little bit of business consulting. Like I would always advise, like, take a step back for a moment. Let's
Mhm.
take out all the things that take a look at all the things that are in your business that you can just take out. Like you don't really need it, right? These are the things that you got to deal with first. And then those that are crucial, right? Then you look at ways to automate it, right? And then once you automate it, then the remainder miscellaneous tasks, that's the thing. Those are the things that you outsource.
Mhm.
And so I think the biggest mistake that a lot of business owners jump to is they just jump to, oh, well, I need to hire a person for this. Well, before you do that, because obviously businesses need to stay lean, you got to preserve capital because capital is how you grow. So with that, I mean, look at options out there. And I'm not saying Sweet Dash is the solution to everything, but for the price that they have comparatively to what you get from like invoicing to contracts to a file vault to announcements for your clients to like it's infinite. Like compared to what they're charging, like it's basically free. And I'm gonna say that like it's compared to what you guys are charging, like what I get from it and how much it solves my business and like the whole progressive web app being a flex, like all these added bonuses, like and it's basically free. And it's crazy as well to think about this because you feel very supported because when your clients reach out to you, oh, hey, this thing on the portal is not working. Well, like instead of having your own like tech team or customer service team or whatever, I literally just go to Sweet Dash and be like, hey, it's not working. Can you guys double check for me? And it feels like you have an entire back end um, like tech support team
Right.
that can help you as well, which is
Right.
phenomenal, right? If you build your own software, even like you won't even have that. You have to hire somebody for that, which is going to cost you an arm and a leg, right? Um, so that would be the advice that I
Yeah,
give.
and hidden in there, I think hidden gems in what you said, especially those first two, which I love that the eliminate and then automate. Hidden in there is the task of defining the processes, right? So because it is very tempting for early business owners to say, okay, let's just go hire somebody for that. Okay, but are you really going to be able to tell them exactly what they should do? And if they leave and with all your knowledge, can you replicate that person without another full ramp up? So what often does automations will often do, and the reason maybe they are somewhat intimidating, is you're forced to sit with yourself and really analyze. Okay, what does my business really need to do? Does it need to go from this step to that step to that? Then you have to define those steps And then you will very likely find that, as you said, many of the things you can automate. And the great thing about automations, of course, is they work in the background while you're out surfing or riding a bike or whatever. But the second thing about them is they don't make mistakes. Once they start working and you have them dialed in, you can count on that automation to do what it needs to do and do it well and do it repetitively and do it accurately. And so, yeah, I think you're really wise to say that. And then only with the things that are left over, as you say, look to outsource. So that's good advice. Very good advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Sam. And finally, I always like to ask this: what advice do you have for Sweet Dash? What advice do you have for me and for our team as we move forward and thinking about how to move in the future?
To be honest, you guys like literally solved it with the email this morning, which is the customer service, like the wizard
Mm-hmm.
aspect of it.
Great.
That would be a game changer. Because in the beginning, like obviously, like I was trying to like utilize different functionalities. I was looking at everything on the back end, and when I logged in, I was like, this is pretty overwhelming. But having somebody that can guide them through that,
Mm-hmm.
that'd be a huge game changer. And then everything that all the things that I mean I would have suggested, I actually brought it up during this call. So
Okay, good.
you know, yeah. So like reporting and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, it's you guys are going in the right direction for sure. Like
That sounds
100%.
great. That sounds great for me, and it's great advice. And yes, the wizarding program we are very excited about. We are even onboarding new wizards and completing training certifications. So um, we have a wizarding program, agency programs that can help you. Anyone out there that feels like you're not sure or you don't know if you can pull this off, there's a lot of help there for you, a lot of documentation, getting started videos, and I think Sam has shown that you can take a business that is young. Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean that it really doesn't. Uh, there's no final outcome that we can pin on you on your business just because you're young, Sam. And the reason is that you've been able to take and leverage tools in a way that lets you grow really quickly and convince customers to go with you because of the pro look that you're showing them, and they think, okay, well, if they can pull this off, or you know what, really, the bottom line is, if they care enough to spend this kind of time to make things look like this, then they clearly are going to care about me and my business. And I really
Totally.
think that's what that you're projecting confidence to them and impressing them with the way that you are you're stating, I will take care of you the way I take care of my portal and my website, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
That's what
exactly.
it is. Okay, Sam. Well, thank you very much again for joining us. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed hearing about your journey to where you are now, and I have a strong feeling that you're going to be setting the world on fire for many years to come. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you to all you guys out there listening. This is Mike. This is the Succeed with Software podcast. Thanks. Have a great day.